This is a Revit lesson 2, the ranch house, 1950s ranch house. Revit defaults to 1/8 inch scale, and when you're doing residential construction drawings, you generally want to work at a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to switch scale on this drawing. It makes it a little more legible. We put in, you'll remember from the last lesson, we put in provisional door openings, not doors. It was for the purposes of creating a measured drawing, because we're going to need that in SketchUp. We don't have it from the image itself. However, if I go to a default 3D view in Revit, you can see that we've done quite a bit of work, however provisional, in this drawing. If I go to an elevation view, because I've drawn walls with a base constraint at level 1 and a top constraint at level 2, whatever I set my elevation for level 2, let's say level 2 is 9 feet. I think we decided it's about 8.6. All the elements that are constrained to that height will go with it. Now, the drawing of the ranch itself, or the pictures of the ranch itself, actually have a front porch of sorts in front of this. So I'm going to go to an elevation view and draw what I'm going to call finished grade. So, which means I'm going to replicate one of these elevation datum objects, create similar, and it defaults to, it infers the next level. I'm going to call it, just rename this grade. And I'm going to give that an elevation of -1. What does that mean? That means if I draw on grade some kind of platform, which I don't really have pictured. There's this front porch of sorts. Well, maybe we can draw a couple of lines and guess at its outline. So detail lines. Let's say it goes out 6 feet. And then across. I'm just trying to match up we're going to assign it some kind of depth, meaningful depth. Let's make this 6 feet. So I'll take these 3 lines, copy them to the clipboard, go to grade, right? It's showing me the lines that I have in my memory buffer. And I'm going to draw a floor. And I'm going to draw a 6-inch floor, because I'm going to say that 6 inches negotiates between finished grade, which is 1 foot below the floor level of the house. So if I click on floor, it brings me to sketch edit mode. I'm going to edit this type, duplicate this type, and make it a generic 6 inch. floor. Give it a give the structure a value of 6 inches. Watch what happens when I paste from clipboard a line to current view. Paste those lines, and it interprets those lines as model lines. So that's a really useful feature to remember. I'm going to finish that drawing by just that. It's got to be a closed loop. Let's bring this, align it with the house. So there's our floor, and it's on grade. So now when I go back to this 3D view, that's what I'm looking at. What's wrong with this picture? Yep, there's a gap between the house and this floor slab, and that's 6 inches. If I were to look at a south elevation, oh, I forgot floor. We have to offset the floor level because it draws to top of floor, so we have to give that a height offset of 6 inches. So that means we need something to represent the part of the floor slab that sits on the ground, and I'm going to draw a floor at level 1, and I'm going to give it a thickness of 1 foot. Level 1. Floor. Generic 12-inch. I'm in sketch edit mode. All I need is the outline of the house, of the exterior boundaries of the house. That's exactly 24 by 36. Finish edit here. So now when I go back to this view, there it is. That's the floor I drew. There it is. Site. This is a really condensed Revit lesson. It might be worth just watching this first. Site view is a view from, imagine a bird up in the air 200 feet looking down at your house. I'm going to draw a very simple topography, which is 4 points at 0, 0 that are going to define the Earth surface. Massing in site, topo surface, defaults to points of elevation 0. Draw them outside the bounds of the elevation markers. Doesn't matter what shape it is, because you're going to be working in here and no one's going to see it. But when you cut through, when I go to an elevation view, I'll notice that the house now sits on the Earth. I made a mistake. What's the mistake? Extra credit for anybody who guesses. Yeah, grade is at minus 1, 0. So I should probably have drawn this surface. I'm going to edit the surface. Can I select the points like that? Yeah, I think I can do this. Minus 1 and apply. So now all those points are minus 1 foot. Finish surface. Let's go back to that other drawing. Yeah. So our site, the Earth is 1 foot below the house. It's semantics. I could have made level 1 at 1 foot 0 and grade at 0. It really doesn't matter for purposes of what we're doing here. I don't want to make these lessons too long. Let's try to pull up an image of this house again. I think I saved it in that handouts folder. All these files are in my handouts folder. Desktop. Structure handouts. Instructor handouts, Jane's Rants, residential, whatever. Okay, I'm invoking Paint 3D even though I don't like it. You can see the my approximation of this porch was like a 6-inch floor. Okay, there's a little path that leads up to it. I made that floor 9 feet. If these were some kind of massive siding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, could be 1 foot horizontal siding. Let's guess at that. So I'm going to guess at the pitch of the roof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like a 5-pitch roof. What does that mean? 5 and 12. For every inch that you travel horizontally, for every foot that you travel horizontally, you travel 1 inch, 5 inches vertically. Show you how that helps us. I'm going to model the roof. You don't end up really doing a lot of this. The roof is going to sit on level 2. So I'm going to go to the floor plan for level 2 and select architecture roof. By default, sketch edit mode roof is similar as a floor in that you're creating an object by defining its shape or boundaries. Unlike walls, where you define walls by a top and a base and top constraint and a start and end point, right? If you think of architectural elements in that fashion, Revit will become much easier. So remember that. By default, all four sides indicate pitch. This little symbol says that all 4 sides have a slope. Because this is a gable, I'm going to uncheck defines roof slope at the outer boundaries. Select that line, say, no, that line doesn't have a slope. That line does have a slope, but we guess that to be a 5 slope. 5 inches and 12. We guess that to be a 5 slope. 5 inches and 12. Roof is going to have an overhang, so I want to offset the edges of the roof. Let's offset, let's make it deep, 2 feet, and not copy, because I want to preserve the outline of the roof that I've drawn. Finish edit. Okay, so we're in plan, so it's chopping off because I'm cutting, it's a floor plan, so it's roughly 4 feet above where the roof is sitting. If I go to any of the elevational views, I can see what is happening with the roof I just modeled. There are ways that we can modify how the eaves, if we want the rafter cuts to be other than plumb or straight up and down, I can make it a 2 plumb cut and define a fascia depth, and that tends to be a little more appropriate, right? Let's go back to east elevation. The roof is sitting up. So you have to make these adjustments somehow. I'm going to drop graphically the roof so it sits on the exterior walls of the house. I can also, for my 3D view, whoops, Z will recenter the drawing. I can attach the walls to the roof. Very elegantly allows you to select an object to which to join those walls. Okay, go around to the other side and do the same thing. Sorry. Select that wall. Attach top base. I'm attaching the top of the wall to the roof. So it just fills in that space between. That's pretty convenient. We have no ceilings in this space, and that's the problem I'm going to ignore for now. Remember this little select elements by face is when you're not using that, you have to turn it off, because otherwise it selects everything in creation too easily. Remember, all our door openings are just cased openings right now also. Go to level 1. This is Sandra. Sorry for the interruption. I think my phone rang. So we modeled the roof and we joined the end walls to the gable, to the undersides of the gable. I'm going to quickly cut a section in Revit both ways. Normally you have a long section through the building. You want to explain as much of it as possible. So you back near the front, right? That's one of the conveniences of Revit. You place a section marker, then you can right click and say go to view, and it shows you the view cutting through that section. It shows you everything we've modeled so far. And I can also place a cross section in anticipation that that's going to be a kitchen. I'm moving it away from the west wall. Right click, go to that view. Right. So what am I looking at in this view? I'm looking at a blank wall and whatever this is in elevation. I have it selected there. We're going to resolve what happens in the upper area of the roof. But for now, this will do for our Revit model. In 20 minutes for any video is long enough. I hope you enjoy this. And I'm going to save, and I'm going to save this as file save as Revit lesson 2. So that's in my handouts folder, and this video will be up on YouTube shortly.